AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. We are live today from Spine Center in Baton Rouge, SpineCenterLA.com, SpineCenterLA.com. Put back pain behind you, SpineCenterLA.com. Will Wade returning to LSU. It's the giant story of the day and something we're going to spend the lion's share of today discussing. Bottom of this hour, we're going to head to Raleigh. Noah Fleischman, who covers NC State, is going to be with us. He was here a week ago, and it'll be interesting to kind of get a little boots on the ground perspective of from that perspective, how everything transpired and the reaction. So we'll tell that story coming up in 30 minutes from right now. I do want to talk about Heath Schroyer's role, the buyout, what all this means financially for LSU and the rest of the sports. As I look through the text line, that's the majority of the comments are people celebrating, naturally, very excited. If there's the people who are having a bit of trepidation, it's, I'm excited about Wade, but what does this mean for resources for other programs as well, if you're going to pull resources to men's basketball? Again, I'm going to get to that in a bit. While all of us were on Wade watch, some of us were also out at LSU football practice on Thursday. It was the second of 15 spring practices. Media got to watch 5 periods. So about 30 minutes, just a little less than 30 minutes that we were out there. Again, the first period that we got to see was the 11-on-11 hurry up, no huddle period, which might just be offense, right? I mean, they're going to go fast. And on Tuesday, if you remember, as we went through this, we weren't where they had us positioned. We couldn't see because we're on the west sideline and there's 2 fields parallel to each other, long ways. So there's 4 fields, but the ones were on the far field and we were on a sideline looking where the 2s were. So we just couldn't see the ones where we were. Today, they let us go to the north end zone as well of the 2 fields. So I was able to go watch the ones. And there was, I'm not going to bury the lead here, there was a giant surprise, kind of literally, on the defensive line. This was your first team defense. Your defensive ends were Jordan Ross, the former 5-star transfer from Tennessee, and Prince Will Umanmielen, the transfer from Ole Miss, the number 1 edge in the country in the portal, right? That's no surprise. But your 2 interior defensive linemen, your 2 defensive tackles running with the ones, true freshmen, Deuce Geralds and Richard Anderson. How about that? I'm not in any way suggesting that when LSU plays Clemson on Labor Day weekend, that Geralds and Anderson are going to take the first defensive snap. But it's certainly notable when you've got returning players like Dominic McKinley and a veteran transfer like Malik Blockton coming in from Auburn, and then other players like Sean Washington still around, that the 2 freshman early enrollees were running with the first team there. The linebackers are TJ Daugherty and Devon Keys. Whit Weeks is out there, is not participating. And then your safeties were Ty Benefield and Tamarcus Cooley. Your star was Deshaun Spears. As we kind of heard this offseason that the idea was to move Spears to that from safety to that star role. That would be an opportunity to get your 3 best safeties on the field with Benefield, Cooley, and Spears all at the same time. And honestly, Spears probably fits that star mold better because he's more versatile. I mean, you think the last 2 years since they've used that position, Major Burns was a very physical guy at the line of scrimmage, really struggled in coverage and in space. Last year, Harold Perkins, very good in space, but and we know he could rush the passer, but certainly struggled to turn and run and cover. this is a guy in Spears who we know is big enough and physical enough to play the run, but also has coverage skills. So this might be finally the right guy in that position. Offensively, we've talked a ton about the offensive line. This, for me, is the single biggest question mark going into spring, is how this position group shakes out. It was your worst unit a year ago, and you went and made over almost the entire thing. Your first offensive line, left to right, no surprise, Jordan Seaton, the transfer Colorado, was at left tackle. Devin Harper was at left guard. Remember, Devin Harper from Calvary Baptist was an LSU commit, flipped to Ole Miss, redshirted in 25. The Ole Miss folks said, I don't cover Ole Miss, but my friends that do and colleagues that do insisted that Harper was in line to be the starting right tackle next year at Ole Miss. So to see him in line here second day of spring, but running with the first team at left guard was interesting. Braylon Moore at center, Aluba at right guard. Aluba is the Maryland transfer. Remember, he was a top 100 overall prospect in the country, went to Georgia, redshirted, transferred to Maryland. Last 2 years, he started every game at right guard for Maryland the last 2 years. So a 2-year starter in the Big Ten. No surprise that he fits right in there at right guard. And then Weston Davis was running with the first team at right tackle. Landon Clark running with the first team at quarterback. Sam Levitt is out there, but again, he's not doing any 11-on-11 stuff. He's just in the individual periods he's throwing, but he's not doing any of the team stuff. So Landon Clark was actually the one running with the first team. Caden Dermott, running back, Tredez Green at tight end, and then your three receivers were Jace Brown, Jackson Harris from Hawaii, and then Winnie Watkins. One note is that Watkins on the roster is listed as number 8, but he's out there. There was a 6 at receiver. The 2 6s on the roster are TJ Daugherty and Husan Longstreet. So I think Winnie Watkins is the one wearing 6 out there. Because there's no 8. Watkins on the roster is 8, but there's a 6. So that's very likely who that is, who is out there running with that first unit. A couple other things I thought were interesting today. And a lot of you have noticed this from some of the video we've posted, so that's very astute LSU fans who know what they're looking at. So Kevin Peoples, who was the edge coach a year ago, is not working with the edge rushers. Actually, even on the website in his bio at LSUsports.now, it says interior defensive line. So Peoples is working with the defensive tackles, and Sterling Lucas is working with the edge rushers. Lucas's title is defensive line coach, but Lucas is working with the edge. Peoples is working with the defensive tackles. I do think this will be interesting for June when Lamar Brown shows up. Because remember, Lamar came on the show over the summer and said that LSU wanted him at edge. Now, it was a different staff, but he wanted to play defensive line. And every time that he was at practice and we got to see him when he was observing practice, Lamar Brown was over there watching Kevin Peoples' group with the edge. So is he going to play edge? Does he move with Peoples to the interior? Don't know. Different coaching staff, same defensive staff, but we'll see what that might mean come June. Stephylan Green, the Clemson transfer, was absent again. Didn't see him during the individual periods, so that's one worth keeping an eye on as we continue to move throughout spring. And I tell you, I thought it was also interesting watching Blake Baker and Chris Kiffin. They sort of switched today. Baker was. Today working with was working with Deshaun Spears, CJ Jim Coyley, Aiden Hall. I got some video of this actually I'll post on my Twitter and my Instagram as well. But Blake Baker working with the Stars. And those groups have switched a little bit as well, with working with both Baker and with Chris Kiffin. So they're co-defensive coordinators now. But and Chris Kiffin's the linebackers coach, and Baker's working with the Stars. But they've sort of been interchangeable with how they're managing what they're doing out at practice. If you're looking for the all uniform team, man, Ty Benefield, that safety wearing number 2. They got him listed 6'3", 211 or something like that. I'm not looking at a roster in front of me right now, but man, he looks the part. When you look at a guy that is giant, long wingspan, physical dude, they were all in on Ty Benefield at safety, and with good reason, man. He looks mighty impressive out there. Expect a big season for number 2 in LSU's defensive backfield. So just a few notes. They'll be off Friday, and then they'll be back on the practice field on Saturday. The media is going to get 30 minutes. There's no camera or photo opportunities on Saturday. Generally, when that happens, it's because they're going to let us watch something they don't want on video. So maybe we get to watch a little bit more practice on Saturday, but we'll have a full report for you there as well at louisianasports.net. So you can check out today's report at louisianasports.net and all our Will Wade coverage as well. All right, it's After Further Review. Our Thursday shows are presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing, not just healthcare. It's healthcare for your lifestyle. Hey, I love telling you about First South Farm Credit. If you're thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthLand.com. That's FirstSouthLand.com. You know, it doesn't matter if it's 100 acres in Covington to build your family's dream home. Maybe, you know, if your family's like my wife's family, there's 3 sisters, they're all so close. Like I could see them wanting to like buy a bunch of property and build 3 homes on it and all live near each other. A lot of people do that. You want that property? First South Farm Credit can help you finance that land. Maybe you want that recreational property in Mississippi or that hunting property in Texas. Remember, they can help you finance land in anywhere in the contiguous or lower 48. So it's First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthLand.com. Thinking of buying land? Your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthLand.com. All right, glad you're hanging out with us here. We are brought to you by this. We're here live at the Spine Center here on this Thursday. Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge, gorgeous location. If you're going down Bluebonnet, you turn on to Picardy, and we're right here in the building on the side. Actually, the second floor of this building is the Williamson Eye Center. And then you come up to the third floor. Here's where we are at the Spine Center, SpineCenterLA.com. Put back pain behind you. If you got back pain, don't live in pain. You want to get off meds, they have options. It's Spine Center of Louisiana, SpineCenterLA.com, SpineCenterLA.com. Okay, quick break. The biggest question I think that most people have asked with respect to the Will Wade hiring is, okay, what does this mean financially for all the other sports with the resources that Will Wade is going to pull? It's a very good and fair question. I'll get to that and give you some thoughts when we continue here. It's AFR.
AFR.
REV, Let's Rev. Let'sRev.com, Let'sRev.com. Hey, our friends over at Rev want to help you, home or business. When we talk about Rev, this is your internet service provider. They can do home automation, security, telephone, cable, TV, connected devices, all of that sort of stuff. That's what Rev does. And they've done that for 90 years. And they're local. REV. Go to Let'sRev.com, Let'sRev.com, Let'sRev.com. They're going to give you better prices and better customer service, and they're local. The thing that I love the most, now I experienced this when they came to our home and did the install. Of course, they laid fiber in our neighborhood. I've told you that. But when the Rev crew members came to our house, super friendly, worked so hard, and you could tell, take a ton of pride in being part of a local business. REV, home or business. Let'sRev.com, Let'sRev.com.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at DecisionCriticalVR.com.
When somebody knowingly has broken a major NCAA rule at the time, it's no longer a rule. You can pay players now. When he willingly breaks it, you are getting in bed with somebody who doesn't care about rules. He doesn't care about, it sucks for NC State because I think he's a good basketball coach, but I think he isn't necessarily the most morally or ethically sound person in that group. He's gone.
So they knew what they were buying.
They did.
That was Adam Gold on ESPN 99.9. I was actually on his show earlier today, and it was flabbergasting to hear. It was a good conversation, but the misconception. It's very much a lover-scorned scenario at NC State. It's so reminiscent of what we all just experienced from Ole Miss folks, and. You from an NC State perspective, you're going to take shots at Will Wade today, but you were okay hiring him, knowing that he had broken an NCAA rule. I think maybe one of the reasons primarily why LSU fans weren't appalled at the time of the strong-ass offer, right, was because we knew that's what everyone does. It's what everyone does. if you wanted to win. And now it's allowed. So it's like the people that clutched their pearls about Reggie Bush, and now everyone was up in arms and rallied to get him his Heisman back. It's the same concept, because it was an absurdity at the time. It still isn't. It still remains absurd that was ever the case. And with Will Wade, it's funny how narratives get told, and just, I guess, doing this job long enough and you talk to enough people and you're ear to ground enough, how time and history can tell a tale and things get remembered a certain way, whether it's how it transpired or not. But what people are going to remember is Will Wade on that wiretap, naturally, because that became the focal point of that whole investigation. But that was an FBI investigation, not into coaches paying players. That FBI investigation had to do with the crummy agents in the AAU underbelly and all that stuff. Will Wade just happened to be talking to a player that got caught on a federal wiretap, or about a player on a federal wiretap involved in that investigation. Will Wade wasn't under investigation. He got caught on wiretap of an FBI investigation, and so it put that on blast for the NCAA to know that there was nefarious activity. But in that investigation, Bill Self in Kansas were involved, and Sean Miller was involved, and Auburn and Bruce Pearl were involved. I mean, you had some other very prominent coaches, and none of them got crucified for it because it wasn't their voice on the wiretap. And maybe because some of those other coaches were more prominent, more established than Will Wade, who was a young coach at the time. Now, my thing I've said often about Will with that is, look, his screw-up wasn't paying Javonte Smart. His screw-up was being the one on the phone. Like, he was just clumsy with it. But I don't care that they paid Javonte Smart or that they paid anybody. I'm the most, y'all know this about me, like, I'm the most extreme, let them transfer as much as they want, pay them as much as they, all that sort of stuff guy. Because the system has been jacked up for 100 years. The old people screwed it up. So good luck fixing it. I don't care how you fix it. Anyway, if there's one, I got a text from Erica. I'm telling you, as happy as you are, there's nobody happier in Louisiana today than Erica Moscona. I'm telling you, she don't know a lick about basketball, don't know a lick about sports, but she loves Lane Kiffin and Will Wade. She loves Lane Kiffin on TikTok, and she loves Will Wade because she thinks he's hilarious. Because he's like, Will Wade, God bless him to say this, and he'll hear it, and I don't care, but Will Wade is a nerdy-looking guy. Landry, is that fair to say? Okay, she's agreeing. She's nodding, yes, okay. But then he gets all mad and stomps around, and he's boisterous and press. So she thinks that's hilarious. Like the juxtaposition of those two things. She loves Will Wade. Loves him. So the fact that Lane Kiffin and Will Wade are now at LSU, there's nobody happier. I'm telling you, nobody happier in the state than my wife. She just texted me, I hope the Easter Bunny brings me season tickets. And there's an Instagram of Will Wade standing by the Tiger cage and saying boot up or something like that. Whatever. So, but that's what Will Wade is going to do. Will Wade is going to bring the diehards will be there, but the casual fan will come back and be interested in this program. Now he's got to win. But the feedback I've gotten most, I think, this is a text from Landon, hat tip, Landon Roy, who said, Matt, I don't want to throw a wet blanket on today's news, and I'm just as excited as everyone about the Wade hiring. But Jay Johnson has made it clear he's not completely satisfied with his NIL budget. Do you know if LSU has a plan in place to budget for Wade and Jay? So that's a great question. And here's one from Sean, who said, if Texas 8-4 goes after Jay Johnson, does LSU throw money at Vitello? So the second part of that is no. The money that Tony Vitello is making in Major League Baseball will far exceed what he's making in college. There's a reason he left to begin with. But the question about resources is a very fair one to ask. Because as we know, revenue share this year, $20.5 million, 75% to football, 15% to men's basketball, 5% to women's basketball, 5% to everyone else. So basically, Jay Johnson got less than $1 million in revenue share and we know, we read you the quote a million times from the Tiger Ag article where he said, schools are going to decide what they want to be good at, and LSU hasn't proven that they want to be good at baseball. It's true. And there's evidence to support it. I've told you about 1 million guys at LSU wanted via the portal that they didn't get. Braden Montgomery, who went from Stanford, went to A&M. Last year, Zach Root from East Carolina, LSU wanted him. He ends up at Arkansas. Maui Ahuna, Vaheva Aloy, some of the best players that LSU wanted via the portal that they didn't get because other places paid more. So, I told you last year, LSU was 7th or 8th in the SEC in NIL budget. They won a national championship with a mid-tier NIL budget, which is an amazing hat tip to Jay for the ability to identify, to hit on Anthony Ianson, to hit on Danny Dickinson, some of those guys via the portal and bring all that together. And, of course, you had an amazing frontline starter in Kate Anderson. But the point is, yeah, you're going to need more of a commitment. And so there is a concern to say if football is pulling all these resources and now Will is going to get his and Kim is always going to want to get hers, where does that leave baseball? And it's hard because at LSU, baseball is a non-negotiable. You have to be competing for championships at LSU all the time. Well, the resources right now aren't necessarily there for baseball. And so you wonder, will it get thinned out even more? There's two things I would tell you primarily that I think will factor in here. Well, maybe three. One, what LSU just did in football, all the fundraising, I've been told this by people involved at LSU from their Max program and the revenue office and boosters and everything. The beneficiary primarily what LSU just did in football is going to be baseball because they're going to get the runoff. Think of it this way. LSU goes to a corporate partner. The corporate partner commits $1 million in NIL money through Max, right? This is the true third-party NIL, where there's no one athlete that's going to get $1 million deal. So what instead they'll do is they'll take that $1 million and they'll go do 50 different deals, right, for this company. Well, some of that is going to go to baseball. So the runoff is going to go to baseball. So that's a good thing for Jay for this year. That's one. Two is Heath Schroyer's role. Heath Schroyer coming over from McNeese, as I understand it, his role is go raise money for basketball to make sure Will gets what he wants. There's a report out there about the $15 million. I mentioned this in hour one, that Will's been guaranteed a $15 million budget for basketball. I'm telling you unequivocally false. I could not possibly be more confident in my information with that answer. That that Will Wade was not promised any budget. Not saying they weren't giving him any money, but he was not promised a number to say this is how much we're giving you for your roster. What he wanted was Heath Schroyer. Heath did an amazing job at McNeese in generating revenue, in corporate sponsorships, and selling. And now his role, as I understand it, is going to do that with Will for LSU basketball. That was the contingency that Will wanted, was Heath here with him to work hand in hand, side by side, to get the resources he needs. And I got news for you. Southwest Louisiana, ton of oil and gas money in Southwest Louisiana where McNeese is. Heath has those relationships. That could certainly be a beneficiary for LSU men's basketball. Just something to file away. And then, the third component of all of this is new revenue. And I've said this many times, and I'm going to keep saying it. So because something's got to give. And part of me feels like I'm just tilling the soil here, and I don't know what seeds are going to be planted and what crop is going to grow, but I just know this is going to happen because you're already seeing it. I'm not predicting the future. I'm telling you what's happening that maybe you're just oblivious to. LSU, because people keep asking, not $54 million to buy out Kelly, $91 million for Kiffin, now $10 million, $10.8 to buy out McMahon and his staff, $4 million to buy out Wade. Now you got to pay the roster for football. Like, where's the money coming from? What I'm telling you is they don't have that much money liquid right now to spend. They don't. You tap your reserves, you go to your boosters. You do the best you can to get what you need for now, but it doesn't mean you have the liquid assets to pay all of these today if those bills came due. They don't. I'm telling you, they don't have the money. You've committed $91 million to Lane Kiffin over a long period of time, but you don't have to come up with $91 million today. And you can't go to Todd Graves and Gordon McKernan and Pepper Rutland at MMR and all the big boosters at LSU, every year and expect them to do the same thing to float this. And you can't just raise ticket prices. So you've got to create new revenue streams. Like, this is obvious, and you're seeing it. It's why Venture Global's on the field. It's why Woodside Energy patch is now on the uniforms, or will be. These are the new revenue streams that they have to create. And they're not done. So the question is, what new revenue streams can you create to help supplement or to help support financially all of these things you want to do? Because the old model is not, it cannot work. It is not sustainable. Like, Todd Graves is not going to fund the entire athletic department every single year. It's just not a thing. Holden Spate is not going to do it. That's just that is not a real model that can work. They can get through a year, and as they're figuring it out, but they are going to have to find new revenue streams. And it's not just LSU, it's everywhere. Or you start cutting programs and decide what you're going to be good at and go bare bones and others to make sure that the ones you want to float in, you float. File that away. It is the most under-talked about but most important part of this entire conversation. Where are the new revenue streams going to come from? Because they're coming. All right, it's after further review. We're going to head to Raleigh next. Noah Fleischman is going to join us. We're here at Spine Center, SpineCenterLA.com, SpineCenterLA.com. Hey, you don't have to live in back pain. You want to put back pain behind you. You want to get off of your pain meds. You can. They offer injections in office. They have ablations. Get off your pain meds. Put back pain behind you. Come here to the Spine Center, SpineCenterLA.com, SpineCenterLA.com. Okay, y'all. It's after further review presented by Decision Critical. We'll knock out a break. We're headed to Raleigh next on AFR.
AFR.
Speaking of, get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan, injury returns. Had a chat with Gordon earlier today after the Wade news broke. He and I chopped it up for a little bit about it. But, Gordon's been a great supporter of LSU athletics for so many years. He was the original, obviously, NIL benefactor for LSU. First NIL deal that he did was with Alexis Morris in women's basketball. Of course, kept Kayshawn here when Alabama was trying to court him over to Tuscaloosa. And Gordon has continued to grow his commitment, but it's not just at LSU or not just men's or women's sports. It's lots of different sports and lots of different opportunities for young men and women to have those opportunities to be put on a platform. And Gordon's done an amazing job of that. And of course, helping injured people in our state like he's done for 3 decades. So if you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. You know what to do. Go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com, getgordon.com. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You know what to do. Get Gordon and get it done.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
There was no reason for me in my job not to believe the words that I was hearing coming back to me from Coach Wade. And I believe everyone here saw it, wrote about it, whatever it is, that I want to be at NC State. That's where I want to be. I look forward to growing it. I was as surprised and shocked as anyone else as this occurred, based on the previous conversations we had.
That is NC State Athletic Director Boo Corrigan, who met with reporters earlier today after Will Wade's decision to leave NC State after one season to return to Baton Rouge and LSU. Noah Fleischman from On 3, the Wolfpacker, was here with us a week ago, and he's good enough to rejoin us on this pretty transformative day. Hey, Noah, thank you, man. How are you?
Yeah, good, Matt. Got kicked out of the general aviation terminal. Other than that, doing well.
Did you get the tail number?
Yeah, well, there were 2 planes, both on the ground. Keith Schroyer leading the way, hugging on the tarmac with Will Wade and family, and then somebody walked up and said, "Are you waiting for a flight?" I said, "No, watching planes go by." They said, "It's not a good excuse. Get out." So.
Yeah, I don't think that's actually legitimate. I feel like free country. You should be able to stand wherever you want, right?
Yeah, she said, "Not a public building." I was like, "But I can't watch the planes?" She said, "No." I was like, all right, I'll leave.
Oh, you need to go. You need to go by the fence. That's where you have to go. Go outside by the fence. That's where the public property is, I guess.
Yeah, they ran some fans out of there, but the way they're positioned, you wouldn't be able to see them unless you were sitting in the building. But yeah, I mean, pretty big day for both NC State and LSU.
Hey, what? It's probably an obvious question, an obvious answer, but do the best you can here, Noah. What's the reaction up there like today?
It's as you'd expect. Pretty frustrated, pretty disappointed, as you heard from the AD Boo Corrigan. A year ago, yesterday, Will Wade was introduced as the head coach at NC State. Talked a big game, said, the reckoning is here. And, 366 days later, he's, about to get on the plane and head to Baton Rouge. So people are frustrated. They thought they had the coach of the future, and turns out they, had a one-year rental, and now he's going back to the Bayou.
Yeah. When did you and I spoke? I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. And at the time, I think the feeling, you tell me if I'm wrong, was there was a feeling among NC State folks that Will was going to stay. The LSU overtures maybe weren't sincere. When did you start to feel this shifting?
Yeah. So we talked, I think, last Wednesday, right after they lost in the first four to Texas, and that's when we really felt like that. Will was more committed to staying at NC State, doing that thing, building for next year. It changed, I would say late Tuesday night, going into yesterday. I think it's when it really, shifted a little bit. It's like, this is more than just, rumors on the internet. This is like, something that could literally happen any minute. So it all moved really, really quick once that happened, obviously, and we're at where we are today.
As best you can tell, how much or what did NC State push or offer to try to keep Will Wade in Raleigh?
Yeah, I think they, offered, to increase, pay across the board, right? Not just for him, but I'm sure for the assistant coaches as well. But that's not really what Will, he doesn't care about how much money he's making per se. He's made plenty of money in his coaching career at this point at 43 years old. I mean, this is more of that, resources to build him a poodle, which if you ask NC State, they feel like they made a pretty competitive offer to him to get him to stay, and felt like he, the whole time, basically until yesterday, was saying, like, cool, that's like, we got all we need, we can win with that. I think that's what's frustrating, especially Boo Corrigan the most, was Will was telling him one thing, and then at the last second kind of pulled the rug out from under him a little bit.
Do you know, I know this was asked of Boo Corrigan, but I'm curious if you've been able to decipher anything. When LSU or Rep started making contact with Will or with his agent, Jimmy Sexton?
I haven't been able to decipher it yet. I have, Boo Corrigan says he doesn't really know. That's an LSU question. But, at the same time, in Will's contract at NC State, it stipulates that if another program reaches out, he has to let them know. So there is definitely – they know it when this happened. They haven't shared it. I've got, a FOIA request in to try to get that email or whatever, the written, notification that, hey, LSU is interested, we're talking, whatever. But no, I don't really know. But, this has been a thing, as you probably know, since November, that, could he go back to LSU? That's been on the radar, since that time.
Yeah. It's a story we've talked about here, quite honestly, for a year, because you had the governor and the now board chairman pushing hard to make this happen a year ago when Will was at McNeese. It's a strange story. There's no question. Do you suspect, Noah, that there would be any potential action from NC State if, in fact, Will was found to be in breach of his contract?
It's hard to tell. Based on, people I've talked to, based on Boo Corrigan's conversation today, they kind of want to move on from Will Wade. They feel betrayed in a way. Boo, I don't know if you noticed today, he basically said he felt like he was lied to. And so I think, in a way, if there was a way for them to do it, I think they would have found it by now, to be completely honest. I think they're more of, just taking the $4 million from LSU and moving on and go finding a new coach and just turning the page.
Why do you think they were willing to negotiate the buyout?
Yeah, I think because, as you know, if they waited till next week, LSU that is, then this buyout would drop $2 million. But a week, especially, that would put it April 1st, portal opens April 7th. That's not much time for NC State to really get a coaching search done, getting a new coach in here. So they were willing to negotiate it to basically not be held, captive by that week time frame, right? So they were willing to meet LSU in the middle, and they took the $4 million basically just to to let Will go on his way and to let them move on too. So it's kind of one of those things where they didn't want to get, caught any longer. They'd rather just move on and get ready for this next coach. And he's just to build a whole new roster in a couple weeks.
Noah Fleischman's with us, the Wolfpacker. That's part of the On3 network. You covered Will Wade for a year. What are your impressions of Will Wade, having covered him?
I think he's my favorite coach that I've ever covered. I mean, press conferences are, a must attend, no matter what day of the week it is, no matter what game it is. If they're playing, a random school from middle of nowhere, if you're playing, Virginia. I think that was the best part about him, right? He's honest, he's open, he explains basically everything he's thinking, and he doesn't care what other people think. So I think that's the biggest thing. But, he also did a lot for NC State in 1 year. This basketball program, he basically pulled it out from the basement of the ACC and left them at a pretty good spot, and for whoever this next coach is, to build off of moving forward.
There's a lot of people in Oxford, Mississippi that hate LSU, and I feel like there's a lot of people in Raleigh, North Carolina that hate LSU now as well. Do you think this is something that will linger?
Yes, especially if the schedule makers decide the ACC Challenge to send LSU back to Raleigh.
I hadn't even thought about it. I was like, there's no way they're going to schedule each other in a non-conference matchup, but there is a way that could happen.
If ESPN wants some good ratings, NC State is due a home game in that series with the SEC. I was at the last time Will Wade made a return to the program at VCU when he was there with LSU in 2019.
I remember.
Richmond, that was the most hostile crowd I've ever seen in my life, and I think that if they were to come back again, I think it'd be on steroids. That crowd would need a lot of security in that game.
And LSU football is going to Oxford in week 3. Can you imagine if and then a month after that we see LSU basketball go to Raleigh? And no, I'll tell you this, man. We say it often. It is never boring here, ever. It is a different kind of place. Noah Fleischman on 3, the Wolfpacker, covers NC State. Hey, man, I'll be looking forward to seeing if you get anything back from those FOIAs, but we appreciate the time on a busy day, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, man. Noah Fleischman covers NC State, was with us a week ago. It's so interesting. I think I just think it's so interesting that they got caught flat-footed, and it's maybe only just because of my understanding of here, of what it's like here. But boy, the answer Will gave after that ACC tournament game, whenever he was asked about LSU, and he's like, was the job open? It was a quintessential non-denial denial. And to not understand there was a possibility after hearing that is, I lay that at Boo Corrigan's feet. I mean, you're the athletic director. You've got to be more aware in that situation. Anyway, we're here at the Spine Center. We're on the 3rd floor here of this building. And if you go down a floor, that's the Williamson Eye Center. Dr. Blake Williamson and the gang are right below us. Want to see 2020? Come literally to the building where we are. You can come get your back checked at the Spine Center. Go downstairs, get your eyes checked at the Williamson Eye Center. All in one place. Great spot right here off of Blue Bonnet. Hey, if you want to see 2020, call our friends over at the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020, 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com. That's WilliamsonEye.com for the Williamson Eye Center. They got their state-of-the-art dry eye center downstairs as well. Man, you want to, whatever refractive procedure that may be best for you to be able to see 2020 without contacts or glasses, the Williamson Eye Center can help you. So call 924-2020 or go to WilliamsonEye.com. All right, y'all, it's After Further Review. Our Thursday shows are presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. We appreciate so much Blasia and her team for all the great work that they do. It's not just healthcare, it's healthcare for your lifestyle. DecisionCriticalBR.com. All right, let me knock out a break here from Spine Center. When we come back, Muse will have Tigers in the Pros. A busy third hour still ahead. Caught up with Kentucky head baseball coach Nick Mingione. You'll hear that conversation coming up in a bit. And what realistically do we think is Will Wade's ceiling on the court at LSU. Going to get into that as well. You can get your emails, tweets, texts in as we roll along here on a Thursday edition of AFR from the Spine Center.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Watermark and Renaissance. God, I tell you what, I didn't even plan this, but it's true. So we're here at Spine Center. Just below us on the second floor is Williamson Eye Center. And about, 100 yards to my left is the Renaissance Baton Rouge, right here on Bluebonnet, like 100 yards from where we are. I could probably see it if I bend around that corner. Anyway, Renaissance Baton Rouge, it is an amazing, Baton Rouge's premier hotel property. Renaissance Baton Rouge is so awesome. You walk in, sprawling, tons of guest room. So, if you have family coming in town for spring break, Easter, or you're already starting to plan next year football season or a baseball weekend coming up, make sure they know about Renaissance Baton Rouge. Book your room, convenient access to I-10. You can get anywhere in town super quickly. They got Tallulah, the Terrace Restaurant Bar, indoor-outdoor flow, all the amenities, gym, the workout facility, the business center. It's Renaissance Baton Rouge.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
Wrapping up hour number 2, we're here at the Spine Center in Baton Rouge, SpineCenterLA.com, SpineCenterLA.com. Put back pain behind you, SpineCenterLA.com. All right, we're going to get to some, so LSU football practice today. Lane Kiffin with reporters on Tuesday, players with reporters on Thursday. So Whit Weeks, Trades Green, Jordan Seaton all met with reporters. Let you hear some of the highlights coming up in just a little bit. Right now, Muso. Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
Opening day across Major League Baseball here on this Friday, and boy, it was a forgettable opening day for Paul Skeens. Skeens lifted after just 2/3 of an inning, gave up 4 hits, 5 runs, all earned, walked 2 and struck out 1, 37 pitches. I love early season ERAs. 67.5 for the reigning Cy Young Award winner. It was not all his fault. O'Neal Cruz misplayed a couple different balls in center field that really compounded the inning on Skeens. But look, he's well rested and he'll be ready to go for his next start. The Mets got the win there over the Pirates on opening day. Alex Bregman's first opening day with the Chicago Cubs. He was 1 for 4 in the ball game. That one was a single. Did reach base a second time, though, via the walk. Was stranded both times. He was on base today, and the Cubbies got handled by the Nationals. Rangers are in action right now. Josh Smith, currently 0 for 2 in the ball game with 1 strikeout. He played all over the field a year ago. He's at second base here on opening day to start 2026. Some NBA action. Couple former Will Wade players going against each other. Tari Eason and Naz Reid. Naz got the better of Eason and the Rockets. 14 points for Reid, 13 rebounds. Nice double-double off the bench in 31 minutes. Eason, in a losing effort with the Rockets, turned in 3 points and 8 boards. And then Trendon Watford at 15 minutes off the bench for the Philadelphia 76ers a night ago. That was 4 points and 2 boards for him. And the Sixers rolled by 20 over the Bulls. That is Tigers in the pros.
We're brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics, OLOLRMC.com/LSU. That's the website if you want to learn more. But the bottom line is I always encourage you to take care of your health. And the Lake provides world-class health care here at home. I don't just talk about it. I live what I preach. On Wednesday, we were just across the way right over there at Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital. Drew sees Dr. Shaw. That's his neurologist, one of the specialists he sees. They're outstanding. My doctor, Dr. Kurt Chastain, Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group, actually just got an email notification this week that it's time for to go for my annual physical over there. I'll be doing that coming up shortly. It's not at Our Lady of the Lake. They bring world-class health care to Baton Rouge. So, as they often say, they take care of the great champions on the field at LSU. but also everyday champions like you and me, whether it's heart, cancer, stroke, pediatrics. They do it all at the lake. OLOLRMC.com/LSU. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU, together we roar. Okay, it's after further review. Thanks for hanging out with us here on, a jam-packed day. We're so thankful for our friends here at the Spine Center, Dr. McCarthy, Dr. Harrod, for having us here for the first time. What a day. I mean, the first time we're here at Spine Center is the day LSU hires Will Wade. So what's the old saying? Better be lucky than good. Well, this is what a day to be here for the first time, but a great facility, and we're happy to be here. Kentucky head baseball coach Nick Mingione had a chance to visit with Coach a bit ago before the show. We'll share that interview coming up in about 20 minutes from right now. We will talk much more about Will Wade returning to LSU. He's wheels up to Baton Rouge. Hour 3 is next.
AFR.
So maybe you want to celebrate Will Wade returning to Baton Rouge. I got a great spot to do it. Go by Supper Club. Right there on Perkins Road. SupperClubBTR.com. SupperClubBTR.com. That's where you can get your reservations. I don't know. My guess is that maybe the general might be at dinner at Supper Club tonight. I actually don't know that. No one has confirmed that. I shouldn't have said that. I do not know that. Just throwing that out there. Not a bad place to go if you want to have dinner. Your first night back in Baton Rouge. Pop on into Supper Club. Get one of those Sagrera cuts, maybe the Omi beef, maybe the Japanese herb beef. Find your favorite cut of steak at Supper Club, or maybe if you're not into steak, tomorrow's a Friday in Lent, don't worry about it. Chilean sea bass, Ora King salmon. They've got the amazing options. They've got lobster. They've got stone crabs. They've got Alaskan king crabs. They got everything for you. It's at Supper Club. Have the best dining experience of your life. SupperClubBTR.com.